Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. It's Saturday, November the 8th, which means we're 1 week away from Chris Eubank Jr. and Connor Benn 2. Now, I'm obviously in Canada, and one of the things that living in Canada gives you is access to a broad range of North American sports. The downside is that boxing these days isn't really one of those. And so, if you go to a sports bar here, you don't sort of get that boxing vibe, and it doesn't get any mainstream media attention. But thanks to the magic of the internet, I'm usually able to follow along with what's popular in locations where there's a lot of hype about a particular fight. And so, for example, when, Fabio Wardley was going in against Joseph Parker, I was easily able to follow along with, the atmosphere, if you like, thanks to, many of the British YouTube channels and, of course, the mainstream British press. And certainly that was the case back in April, when Chris Eubank Jr. and Connor Benn faced off for their first fight. There was a lot of storylines about it. There was a lot of hype. And in fact, many of us were concerned that the fight wouldn't live up to the hype. Well, in actual fact, the fight did live up to billing. I remember listening to it at airport departure gate in LAX. It was very exciting. And then when I saw the fight, it's like, wow, yeah, this was an exciting fight. And of course, Chris Eubank Jr. prevailed on that occasion. But I think it's entirely fair to say that Connor Benn, he did two things. He dispelled a lot of doubts, and he earned a lot of fans. In fact, I wasn't very keen on Connor Benn pre that fight, and there was that scandal about alleged drug use, which of course turns most serious fans off. But I have to say that Connor Benn went up in my estimation. But there was a lot of, genuine excitement about the fight. I mean, who can forget the egg slapping incident, which may not have been Chris Eubank's finest moment, but it was really fucking funny. As much as I don't sort of go for that, yeah, it was well done, shall we say. I think it cost him a few dollars as well. And, at the end of the piece, when we had Chris Eubank Sr. make an appearance, sort of surprise, there was a lot of good stuff about it. And there was a tremendous amount of media attention. Not this side of the pond, but certainly I could sense it in the UK. Well, we're 1 week away from version 2, or episode 2. Same place, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Tottenham, London. Chris Eubank Jr. is now 35-3. Connor Benn, 23-1. His only loss last April to Chris Eubank. And even on the dedicated boxing channels, I've not felt that same degree of enthusiasm. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to say that even though it's promoted by Eddie Hearn, who promoted the last fight, the publicity machine hasn't seemingly got out of second or third gear. And I'm wondering, really, this is a question for UK subscribers, what's the atmosphere like in the UK about this fight? Are people ginned up about it? Are people keen? What's the gossip in the pubs or sports bars? Because I'm not getting the sense that this fight has really ignited the public's imagination. And even some of the YouTube channels have been sort of lukewarm on it. And I'm wondering, why? because the first fight was very exciting. Now, of course, some of the magic cannot be replicated. So if Chris Eubank Sr. shows up, it's, well, you showed up last time, why wouldn't you show up this time? Some of the press stuff is a little old second time round. The only mainstream story I found sort of interesting was an exclusive interview conducted of Connor Benn by The Independent, a British daily newspaper, which was kind of interesting. It showed a slightly different side to Connor Benn. But I'm not really feeling this fight. Now, I have a small YouTube channel. I'm a keen fan of boxing. I have been for, well over half a century. And of course, I'll watch it, I'll follow it, but it's sort of, next Saturday it's on. Like if, for example, my wife says, hey, we've got to go to Costco next Saturday, I won't be like, well, look, I've got a fight I've got to watch. I mean, I need to jump on the internet and talk about it afterwards. And it'll be, okay, well, that's fine. And I don't know why. We've got a sort of okayish undercard, nothing spectacular. Jack Catterall, who I do not enjoy watching, he's fighting Echo Esserman. Richard Riakporhe against Tommy Welsh. Adam Azim, who I do like, against Kurt Scobie. And then Sam Gilly, Ishmael Davis, Mickey Talon, and Fizan Shahid. It's sort of an okay undercard. Better than the undercard that was the Parker Wardley undercard, because that was truly crap. I'm not going to mince words about that. That was bullshit, really. But yeah, I might have gotten this wrong. It might be that, hey, I'm the equivalent of living under a rock, and everybody in the UK is down at the Bull and Bear and the Dog and Duck, sort of talking about this. There's lineups outside the bookies. Weatherspoons is having it on big screen TVs. But I don't think so. I mean, even the talking heads on TalkSport, who seem to be able to hype anything, they're not really engaged. Certainly not like they were back in February, March, and early April of last year before the first fight. I mean, even Piers Morgan, somebody who I do my best to avoid watching, had them on. But is it a case that, we've seen this, done that, we've got the T-shirt, and now we don't really care about the second fight? Or is something else going on? Can this be laid at the feet of Matchroom? I mean, I keep hearing sort of stories or rumors, not that I'm in the loop at all, but just reading, I suppose, that Eddie Hearn is sort of withdrawing a little bit. I don't know. What I would like to know is what your feelings are. And I'm addressing this to mostly UK subscribers. If you're a North American subscriber, you might well turn around and say, what fight's this? Because it just hasn't really taken off. Was the first fight a bit of a novelty? Are people saying, well, this fight doesn't really count? It should be... It's obviously not for any belt or title. It's a familial grudge match. I don't know. What I would like to know is what you think. And also, let me know what what's the vibe? Have you heard much about this in, when hanging out with fellow sports fans? I don't know. I have a feeling that the fight will be good. I'm not sure if it will live up to the first fight. Rematches quite often don't. Let me know who you want to win as well. I think in the first fight, I really sort of wanted Chris Eubank Jr. to win. But in this fight, I'm a little bit sort of ambivalent, sort of may the best man win kind of thing. I don't truly care. It might be nice to see Connor Benn win, though then that would set up that inevitable trilogy. And I don't know. My own feeling, and that's all this is that the Eubank-Benn feud has kind of reached the end of the road. Anyways, I'll be interested in reading your comments. So there we go. Let me know. If you can, please hit the thumbs up like. YouTube does apparently count those things, so what they do with them, I don't know. What a boring job that would be, counting likes. I'm quite certain it's done by some algorithm. Share if you like. And if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. If you've recently subscribed, thank you very much. That's most appreciated. Very nice of you. And for all those who leave comments, I really do like reading them, and I think I respond to virtually all. And it allows us all to sort of have this little bit of back and forth, which is kind of why one should do a YouTube channel. One certainly doesn't want to do a YouTube channel to make money, because anybody who's starting a YouTube channel with the view of making money, unless you're doing something with feet or maybe popping pimples, I think don't give up your day job, as I used to tell people. Anyways, enough rabbiting on from me. Thanks for watching. Have a fabulous day wherever you are, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.